Hey everyone, welcome to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil Laird.
Fuego here.
Derk Harron.
We are here to do a brand new movie review for you guys for a brand new movie that is available in theaters this coming Friday as we are putting this up. We actually watched this movie last Thursday as you guys are seeing this. Unfortunately, we've been embargoed until just now to be able to drop it on you, which is unfortunate because I know for at least myself, I am excited to spread the word of this movie. Not that there wasn't already tons of buzz about it, considering no one would shut up about the trailer when it first dropped. It took us so long to get to it. But, guys, we're here to talk about Hereditary, being put out by A24 and starring Toni Collette and who was it?
Gabriel Byrne.
Gabriel Byrne, but who directed it? Do you know off the top of your head?
Ari Aster.
There you go.
Yeah.
Can always rely on Fuego for that bit of information. So we're going to do this review like we do all of them. We're going to talk about our overall thoughts. We'll talk the story, acting, effects, all that stuff in good time. But I'm going to just jump in and say that I don't know. This movie might be my favorite horror movie of the year. If it's not, it's number 2. I loved it. I thought it was excellent. It kept me off balance the entire time. I didn't know, like, I had ideas of where it might go, but still, the execution of it just had me surprised at a lot of different turns. The visuals were crazy. I didn't necessarily jump more than like twice, but it wasn't about that. It was just a really kind of tense and dread-filled movie. Overall, I dug the hell out of it.
Hell yeah, I did as well. It really emanated vibes of that like 70s satanic cinema, like big time in my opinion. And that stuff was never really about jump scares or even tons of gore or anything like that. It was all about just building a creepy, brooding ambiance. And some slow burns don't do that quite as effectively as this did. This actually, especially once it got revved into gear, wow, that's enough. I don't really have much else to say beyond that. So I was very impressed with this film, and it had me just kind of on edge, especially in the second half as things get crazier. Dirk, what do you think?
Wow. Well, I've never really felt like anxiety like I did with this movie. Like it's probably one of the best horror movies that I've seen in years, I would say. Because it has something that like I liked from like the Conjuring movies, and I like a lot of movies that are kind of like that. See, I don't know how much I can say without spoiling it. It's one of those movies that where even when you said 70s satanic like type of movies, like I was like, oh geez, I feel like that was almost a spoiler.
No, not really.
But I don't know. There was so many disturbing scenes in this movie that like just kind of caught me off guard, and I felt like I didn't really know where this movie was going at certain parts. I think about 2/3 of the way through, I had an idea, but still, when it was executed at the end, I was still kind of blown away by it. I don't know. I can't wait to spread the word about this movie to my friends.
Oh yeah.
I got some Conjuring feel, and I actually got some shades of some Paranormal Activity actually of that series. And it was. Well, let's just get into the story. We'll talk about everything as we go. But here's the thing. Before we even get into the story, if you guys think you might have an inkling of what the movie might be about based on the trailers, you don't. Because the trailers, I'll say this much, most of the footage in the trailers is from the first third of the movie.
Which is good.
Yeah, and that made for a super, super, like, punch in the face, or I was going to say punch in the gut, but I think the other is more appropriate, kind of moment where everyone in the theater was like, whoa!
Yeah.
Did that just happen?
Yeah, I didn't think they were going to go there.
Me neither. I don't think anyone did.
Man, I tell you what, that moment, and then how that moment was executed, like, immediately afterwards was like...
It was so unsettling. Like, just how he responded to that was just like incredible. If it weren't for 2 millennial girls in the row behind us, like, commentating on the whole
freaking movie.
Oh man,
Yeah,
I'm glad
that
I
was-
didn't hear them. I heard like
Oh.
little bits of whispering.
No,
now
I would
and
hear a
then,
little
but-
bit. Yeah.
I heard it very well. They were just like, did he just did that? Oh, and it's like, oh my god, shut up, you guys! You're not being paid to do a commentary right now. Like, anyway, but yeah, that moment was honestly just one of many moments
Right.
that like caught me way off guard. That's why I
Right.
said at the beginning the movie had me off balance almost
Right.
the entire time. That I mean, and it's funny they lean on the clicking in the
Yeah.
trailer. And it's crazy, like
How
how
it
that
plays a role.
how it plays a role exactly. And I don't even
Yeah.
want to say how. It's just that
Yeah.
by the end it means something, and you're
Yeah.
like, what? And so
Credit to the sound design once we get to that
Yeah.
sector, man.
And another thing I just want to touch on real quick was that they did show this in the trailer, like all the little miniatures, and how disturbing those were.
yeah. Well,
At times.
and honestly, I can't wait to get into cinematography because the very first shot was
Beautiful.
unbelievably brilliant.
Yeah.
Like and how it brings you into the movie and
Yeah.
stuff. Like,
Yeah.
it's a Russian nesting doll of opening shots. It was really cool.
Oh, dude.
But okay, so story. I'm going to be very careful about this,
You
and
must,
I'm
you must.
only
Yeah.
going to describe parts of it. So, and I'm going to say that Toni Collette is married to Gabriel Byrne, and they have 2 kids, a son and a daughter.
Creepy.
Creepy daughter. That's the one in the trailer. And they are all collectively going through a familial loss and
Grieving in their own
grieving
way.
in their own ways.
And that's where I was going to say this is like really a rumination in a lot of ways on how people handle grief in different ways and how it can fracture a family.
Yeah.
I got Pet Cemetery vibes a little bit from that.
A little bit of that,
Yeah.
sure. But yeah, and then, I mean, essentially without spoiling anything else, new obstacles are thrown in the family's way to have to hurdle. And it is, like, just unbelievable. And you think, how can anyone deal with this? And yet, like Fuego said, it's a study in character, development, character portrayal, and character growth as it is or is not in certain cases.
Yeah,
you know?
they all have their individual little arcs in here, the main characters in the family. So,
And yeah, and I will say that there are things that come to light regarding, it's called Hereditary for a reason. So it's kind of interesting in that way. It's a bit of a loosey-goosey reason, but it's still it's indicative of a portion of, I guess, a tinge of the plot. Again, I'm not trying to spoil anything. I don't think that does, but. That's the thing. Like, I was looking for that to play a role in the whole movie, and I was still kept off guard the whole time. I didn't really see until like towards the end. I was like, oh, okay. But still, so that's as much as we can really say what the story is.
Yeah.
Now, I will say I loved how the story unfolded.
yes.
We can talk about the story without saying what it was, right?
Right.
So I loved how it unfolded, and yes, I will say it was a slow burn, but it was a slow burn with the requisite. I was gonna not intermediate, but the requisite purposely spaced apart moments of exhilaration.
Yeah, because there's
break
time
it
to
up.
breathe, So like a big reveal would happen, and then they would kind of ease back a little bit, and then you start to feel like you have more of a grasp of what's transpiring, and then they throw like another little curve or twisty kind of bit, or maybe another clue, I guess is a better way. And some slow burns, like I said, don't just build tension and then just keep it going and keep upping the ante, and this one definitely did. And yeah, it did keep me on my toes. I wasn't really quite sure, like you said, Dirk. I was like, okay, I think I know what's going to happen. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's quite not exactly the way I was thinking it was going to go. And then I was like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that to happen. So,
And I think that the pacing really built up that anxiety in me, just because I really didn't know where it was going. There was just all these shocking moments in this movie, and like you just felt for the son so much. And like I know we haven't got to the acting, but I just want to say
I felt for the daughter and the mom and the dad.
Yeah,
too.
yeah. But at first, it's really weird because like you have mixed feelings about him, and then by the end you're like, oh my gosh, poor dude.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and but even still, there's allusions
I'd
to
say
it in
just
the
poor
trailer.
family, period.
Poor
Yeah,
family,
poor
period.
family, yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
So okay, let's move away from the story. I don't want us
That's where
to
we
get
can't
too
reveal
close.
as much. Yeah, we're dancing on the lines here, guys.
Let's talk acting now. I thought that this was a tour de force for Toni Collette. Honestly,
Yeah.
unbelievable. Now there were like 1 or 2 moments where I thought she pushed it a little far.
I agree with you.
But that was because of how the scene was unfolding, and like another party was moving kind of slowly, and so it had to be dragged out a little bit more.
Right.
I think if that party was moving a little faster, it wouldn't have grated on me as much. But
Yeah. I think I know the scene that you're.
I think you must, yeah. But outside of that, it was amazing to see, and like there was even a moment where there was a change, like you could see a visual change, and I was like, dope, like that was so like cool.
Yeah, in her. Yes.
Yeah. Gabriel Byrne, I thought is awesome. I love watching Gabriel Byrne. He's sort of the foundation post of the family.
Right.
Yeah, he's the most grounded of all of them. You know,
Right.
he's the one that I feel like is trying to be the fabric to hold this unit together as the disarray is really just building and getting worse and worse. And I've loved him ever since End of Days was one of the first things I saw him in, where he played the devil opposite Arnie. And
Yeah.
so yeah, that's a damn good movie, underrated in my estimation. But Colette, though, I mean, just the grief in her eyes in some of those scenes was just heart-wrenching,
Palpable.
And you felt like you were right there suffering along with her. And then also the different approach that the son took at times, where the disbelief, the detachment,
Right.
so
The fear.
expressive. Yeah, exactly.
He had to be so scared at times too. Yeah, and I think actually, unfortunately, I think he had a moment or two
Where he
that was a
overdid it
little
as well.
overdone as well. But those were the only issues that
Yeah.
I had with the acting at all. Dirk, what
Well,
did you think?
I feel like that the son at some points in the movie too, that like that so much was going on, it was so overwhelming that like he portrayed like shock so well, where you just shut down and you don't know how to deal with the situation. So like
And the world just
literally
moves around you.
Yeah, you literally just like leave your body, and then like you can't deal with it. And I think he did that so perfectly in certain scenes, and even the mother did it too. There was times where she just couldn't deal, and so she would like shut down, and so I felt for them both,
And of course, we have to talk about the daughter as well.
Yeah.
She was appropriately creepy. Again, we don't want to say too much because but.
I mean, you can tell
in the
from
trailer, it's
she's
a lot.
She's a weird kid.
Kid, and I don't want to give away too much about her weirdness. You know what I mean?
But she was able to. She doesn't have a lot of dialogue, but she was very emotive with her expressions and her mannerisms, and just getting that point across of her being a little different. So
for sure. So, all right, let's. I think we absolutely need to talk about the cinematography in this movie, and I want to focus on it for a bit. So, what's amazing, the opening shot, and it's not going to ruin it because it's just you have to see the execution of it. But it starts where you see this room, right, and you move into it, and then it does like this nice sweeping pan of the room where you're seeing all these miniatures and homes and figures inside the homes, and they're set up in dioramas.
very carefully crafted, so
meticulously,
stunning
yeah.
looking.
And then it spins around the whole room, and then it settles on a house, and then it starts to push towards the house, and you see the house is kind of split open, right? So you see into the house, and as you move up to this room, and you move up and you see in the room, and you see all the detail, and it looks, wow, it's so cool, it looks detailed. And then the camera stops, and then you see someone stirring in the bed, and then someone comes in through the door, and boom, you're in the movie. Like, they're in the room where the real people are, even though you just saw it push in on a miniature. Like, it's that kind of amazing stuff. And the other thing, before I let you guys jump in, is with this movie, you have to keep your eyes everywhere in the frame. if you look around, you're gonna see some stuff that is going to unnerve you. I think there
You're
was.
like, did I just see that?
There was
that
no.
really
There was something I saw. I think before a majority of the people in the audience, and I think a lot of them didn't even see it. They saw the skittering afterwards. They didn't
No,
see.
I knew what you saw too, because I saw.
I didn't see it because
I
heard
heard you
me.
go,
I heard
"Oh
your
my
reaction."
god!"
Yeah.
And then I was like, "Yeah, I'm on the same page as him."
Yeah,
I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, and I started looking and I wasn't seeing anything, and then when the skirting.
Yeah, but it was there before
like,
the scurrying is the
Yeah.
thing. Like that's what's
Yeah.
awesome. Like they did such.
They did
it was such a good movie.
And I thought James Wan did that great.
Oh,
and,
that's
and
the
I,
thing.
and I
Like,
thought
this
The
is
younger
definitely
director, and
this kind of surpasses those type of scenes in movies.
Yes.
And that's how you can make the Conjuring comparison, and just
Right.
the fluid movement of the camera at times, especially. I mean, there were shots that started upside down and then pulled all the way up and around and got fully stationary, and then I mean some of the above looking down shots, and I love stuff like that, as well as some of the editing techniques where it would just immediate flash from like night to day and stuff
Oh my
like
God,
or
that
going
moment?
from sitting
Yeah.
on a bed to sitting in the classroom.
that moment where it was like a light switch outside. I've never seen that done.
Yeah.
Like if I have, it was not done to that
There
effect.
were so many
Right,
creative
as well.
Yeah.
tricks visually.
It was
that-
it was like 2 seconds, boom, lights, and it was like, oh, we're in the next morning, and boom, the next person's walking through the door. It's like, whoa, this movie is like the skill level into the craft of this film was amazing. It's like you said, I don't know that this surpasses James Wan, but I think this is just as impressive as James Wan was when he stepped in with Insidious and The Conjuring and stuff like that. So the accomplishment and the purposeful use of slow movement, rapid movement, no movement, like all over the place, and so well done.
And there's some dreamlike aspects to certain portions of this that are literally disorienting.
Yes.
You know, I mean,
Well,
Characters will literally change in between camera cuts, and it makes sense, but you know.
Well, there was one character that's kind of like can't sleep, and like, and you felt that like, in that he was an insomniac, and then like, yeah, for instance, when it was night, and then now it's daytime, and you feel that from the character, like that he cannot sleep, and then even the mother too.
the mother too. It
Like,
seems to be like a spreading problem.
And I think that, like, because I've suffered from insomnia, and it does weird things, man. Like you start to see things, you start to like think that maybe you're losing your mind.
And that was one thing this movie played with so well, was that sense of uncertainty because of that plot thread that was throughout. Was, is this really happening or isn't it happening?
Right.
And just the way they visually cued it was brilliant, man.
Yeah.
And I have to shout out the production design too. Like, I
All those
mean,
miniatures, my God.
besides just the miniatures, just all the disturbing stuff is what I'm thinking about, especially the very, very end. Like the visual of the thing at the very end, like. It was like
There was a
and it took me a
gasp
second to realize what I was looking at, and then when I realized, I was like, "Oh God!" Like, and it's to have that reaction now, as old as I am, and as having seen as much horror as I have, it's so gratifying to know that this can still happen.
Yeah, it just felt fresh, even though there was so many different. It felt like so many different movies. It still was fresh.
But
That's
that's
actually
what
exactly what Dave and I said about Upgrade.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, there is that old adage about there's nothing new under the sun, and whether it's music or whether it's movie making or whatever, you often have to pick and choose your different influences and then Frankenstein them together into something that is truly original at this point. And this did a hell of a job at that, man. It really did.
And we have to touch on the gore.
When it's there,
Yeah, when it's there, man.
Yep. The effects overall, really. I mean, there's more than just gore. There's slight digital additions, but there's good makeup effects too. Especially towards the end when you have to when there's
the callback to that image that we saw earlier in the finale was just like you were just saying.
Yeah.
And it's crazy.
Well, but even the visual of the, I'll say this and it won't ruin anything, but the visual of the followers towards the end, was that's a disturbing image when you consider that they weren't all there necessarily. You know what I mean? The gore, especially the one scene towards the end where it had a sound of I was like, oh my god, this is so disturbing. Like, and I don't say that very often. That's
and
why
the
I
slow
loved
reveal
it.
of it too, as opposed to jump scaring you with it. The fact
Right.
that it was so careful and
It was
the
that
set-
camera.
It was slow camera, and also just the. And we can segue into the sound design right now.
Mm-hmm.
Sound played such a key factor in building that brooding creepiness. I mean, the little comes into play extensively, but even
The flies too, just the sound of the flies.
yeah.
That was
Yeah,
pretty
the
amazing.
clicking actually kind of reminded me a little bit of the
Yeah.
Conjuring, but
Yeah.
just a little bit.
But also some like the ambient soundscape stuff that they did. It was like these like synthy, wompy kind of. I don't know. It
The
just
score brought you in right away.
it
too.
did. It really did. In fact, yeah.
And this is one thing that it was pretty nice that they didn't do was that like certain like jump scares they didn't like throw in like that like super loud violin
Right.
you know moments
They didn't
where
need to, yeah.
like there was moments where it's just like oh my god it just unravels and you're just like wow you're just taking it in and it's not like you jump because of it. It's just so unsettling like and I just felt like that movie just kept me unsettled the whole time.
This is a definite purchase for me.
Yeah,
This
definitely.
is absolutely one I gotta add to my list.
Well,
That's
and there
my
was also one on
collection.
on the drive back. I found myself just kind of wrapping my mind around more and more of it, and as it sunk in further and further, I was just like disturbed.
Yeah.
You know.
Even the drive back, like everything felt eerie. I was just kind of like driving and I was like, man, I am really disturbed right now. And like,
It's gonna sit with us for a while. Yeah.
Yeah, Monty was laughing when I walked out. I was like, I'm processing.
Oh yeah. Well, you know what? I don't know. I think it's worth doing a spoiler review if you guys want. We can talk about it after if you want. But that's I think where we should call a regular review.
yeah.
Yep.
We talked a lot about it. We managed to not spoil it, but we will say that you guys need to go see this.
Yeah.
If I had to, excuse me. If I had to give it a ranking, I would probably give it a 9.5, almost out of 10. There was very little. The two tiny moments of what might be considered overacting are the only kind of detractor I could find. I loved the movie. So yeah, any final thoughts, guys, from you?
See it.
Yeah.
Not much else.
I guess I would say that it's a 10 out of 10 for me.
Nice.
Like,
Yeah.
because I don't know, there hasn't really been anything that's surpassed it. Like, I had a lot of fun watching the new Puppet Master, and I had a lot of fun with Quiet Place. But this movie, man,
This is not a fun movie.
This is not a fun movie.
No, but
and
it's
that's
an
what I
excellent
feel like
horror movie.
sometimes
Yeah.
horror needs to do. It needs to scare you.
Yeah, just be,
It needs to
be
rattle your
visceral
nerves. Yeah,
and mess you up.
If it can unnerve the most stoic of horror fans, then it does a good job, you know. So anyway, guys, that's where we're going to end it. So thank you very much for watching. Let us know in the comments down below if this made you more or less excited to see it. Were you going to see it anyway? Like I said, let us know. Let's talk about it. If you did see it by the time you watch this, go ahead and leave a comment about it. Just don't spoil it. I'm going to try and convince these guys to do a spoiler review. So yeah. Until next time, I've been Cecil Laird.
Gracias, Jaime and Fuego.
Dirk Harron.
And remember,
Stay
stay scared.